Hey, what's up? If I would ask you how you love your spouse, well, how would you answer me? Would you tell me that, yeah, what you do to love your spouse, this is how you love your spouse? Listen to me. First of all, get a piece of paper out. I don't actually have a piece. I should have gotten a piece of paper. Then you get a pen out and you write down, okay, how do I love my wife? Well, first of all, let's see, what can I do? What's some stuff that I can do to love my wife? Then you write down number 1, make coffee for her in the morning. Then put down number 2, help her with breakfast. Number 3, give her a hug. Number 4, give her a little bit of a kiss, as you hug, a little bit of a kiss. Number 5, help with the laundry. Number 6, help with the dishes. See, that'd be kind of stupid, don't you think? Is that how you actually love your spouse? Is that how if I get married, is that the way that I should love my spouse? Is that the way to do it? To make a list of things that you need to do?
Sweet! We're watching the Wiz-Ive show.
Now, if you're married, I'm sure you're probably thinking, no, that's a little bit off track there. I don't think I'd make a list of, I got to do this, I got to give her a hug, even to remind yourself to give her a hug. Then as the morning goes along, okay, number 1, make coffee. Okay, I got to make coffee for her. Number 2, no, that's like being a servant to her and not loving her. That's not true love. Or would you think it is? See, a lot of times we think we love somebody or something, but the truth of the matter is we don't. We only are taking the actions that people do that when they are in love, but we aren't fully in love. It's not coming from the heart. When I'm talking about this, I'm talking to myself a lot too, because that pretty much last night, I heard this last night, what I'm sharing with you today, and that is that we were up in a men's group meeting up in Jitter's Coffee House in Millersburg, Ohio, and Phil Wagler, I don't know if you know him or anything, but he came and spoke to us, and this is pretty much what he talked about, is the thing of truly loving God. And he mentioned the thing that I just talked about, about loving your spouse, which you make a list, okay, I got to do this, and give them a hug, or give them a kiss. See, that it shouldn't work like that. If you're truly in love with your spouse, you would actually go up and those things will come automatically because you're looking at her best interest, because you're in love with her, so you're going to do things for her agenda, not for yourself. You're going to put yourself aside and you're going to do it for her. Right? Am I right? And the same way with Christianity is a true love to God is what matters. That's all that matters. Because if you know what the most important commandment is in the Bible, to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. That's pretty cut, dried. And it says, and Jesus says, that and love your neighbor as yourself, those 2 commandments all the commandments come underneath those 2 commandments. Now, what I'm trying to get to here is we need to focus on the love part. We got to focus, instead of focusing on the steps to how to love God, like if we read the Bible, we'll find things that we're supposed to do, like love your enemy as yourself. Different stuff like that. We find those things that we're supposed to do. And then what we do a lot of times is we make a tradition out of doing those things. Like the Pharisees. A lot of times we're more like the Pharisees than we think we are. And that is, we make this traditional way of loving God, but it's not really love. It doesn't come from the heart, it doesn't flow from the heart, and it's not. See, if we truly love God, we wouldn't even have to have the Bible if you think about it. Now think about that. I'm not discounting the Bible anyway when I'm saying this, by the way. I'm saying this to say that let me just share the story with you. A Christian, Torture for Christ, that's the book. I was trying to think of the book name a while back. I couldn't think of it. I got it right now. So anyway, there's a book out there that's called Tortured for Christ. You can get it for free at voiceofthemartyrs.com or something like that. Just search for Voice of the Martyrs on Google. And I definitely recommend getting the book for free. But anyway, this book talks about this guy that was, the guy that wrote it, writes about how he was in prison for like 8 years or something and being tortured for Christ. And naturally he didn't have a Bible, but he had one thing, and that was love. He was deeply and fondly in love with God. And because of that, when he got out of the prison, 8 years, and they use all these mind-controlled tactics to try to get you to forget everything about Christianity and think Christianity is horrible. But anyway, when he got out, guess what he did? He went back and he preached the gospel. And he didn't really know the Bible even, but he preached the gospel because it was in his heart. See, when you truly love God, when you're truly born again and you fall in love with God, and I've experienced this a couple times, you don't need the Bible necessarily because everything is like, well, it comes natural to love your enemies. It comes natural to do good to other people. It comes natural to do all those things because it's from within inside you. It's coming out from within inside you. Just like if you're married, if you really love your spouse and you're married, it comes natural to give her a hug, to give her a kiss, because that's just, I don't know, you can't really explain it because it's inside of you. It's from your heart. It's love coming from your heart. And that's what it means to love God and truly love God, is to give Him, do everything for Him. See, a lot of times, as I mentioned before, we're into traditional love. We read the Bible, we find all the steps, we write down steps of things we need to do. Need to read the Bible more, need to do this more. And it should come naturally. Now, I mentioned a lot of this stuff in other videos, but I just had to put it together here and just to make it into something and to really get you to think about it. Because it is very, very, very important that you need to love the Bible. That's the foundation. Love God. Did I say the Bible? That's the foundation of Christianity, is to love God. And that's the difference between religious people. Like the Pharisees were very religious people. And they had all these things that they did, these traditions that they kept. They were keeping the law, but they were doing it not because they loved God, but because they thought they loved God. Does that make sense? They were doing it because to look good in the eyes of others. It was for their own agenda. It wasn't for God's agenda. And that's the difference. Really loving God and thinking you're loving God is about putting away your own agenda, what I want to do. I want to look good in the eyes of people, all that good stuff. And putting that away and like, okay, Lord, all for you. What do you want me to do? And that's the secret to really, truly loving God. Now, I hope you're getting what I'm trying to say here. I'm sure you probably are. And I had some other things I wanted to mention here before I close this video here. Let me just think here. What was it? Well, first of all, when I say this, it's very important to read the Bible. I'm not discounting the Bible anyway and say you shouldn't read it or anything like that. But it got to come from the heart. When you take the action that you see in the Bible, it has to come from the heart. It's not something that you got to force to do, because that goes back to traditional. That goes back to being religious. But God wants relationship. He wants a relationship with you, and the only way to get a relationship with you is to be fully in love with Him. And He is fully in love with you. He loves you unconditionally, and you got to give that love back. Now, it's not about good works. It's not about anything about doing certain things or anything. It's about loving God. That's all that's about. I hope I cleared Christianity down to the bare minimum, because that's what it is. And that's what I made the video last week about making it simple and keeping it simple. Is about a simple devotion to Jesus Christ. That's what it is. And that devotion is a love for Jesus Christ, a love for God, because that's the foundation of everything. Do you get it? Get back to loving God and forget about the traditional way of showing love. I got to do this so God thinks I love Him, or whatever it may be. Make sure that, and ask yourself the question, do I love God, or do I just think I love God? Anyway, in the comment section below, write down a couple things that we like to do traditionally that a lot of people do, but they don't really love God. And one more thing I wanted to mention before we close here. I know, we're supposed to close there. But here's the point. There's a lot in America. There's a lot of people that can get away with being good Christians by doing the right thing and yet not being saved, not being born again. Because in America, Christians are almost looked up upon in some ways. To a lot of people, they are. But they don't really truly love God. Make sure you truly love God. Ask yourself, next time you're in a situation where you're doing something for God, ask yourself, why am I doing this? Is it because I love God, or is it because of my own agenda? God bless.
Hello guys, welcome to Wizive goal number 37, and that is to love the Lord your God with all your heart. Because that's all that matters. That's the foundation of all Christianity. Anyway, the verse that I have that goes along with that is Mark 12:30, and that is Jesus talking to one of the scribes when the scribes asked him, what is the greatest commandment? This is what he says. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. Now the reason Jesus said that is the most important because, as I said, it's the foundation of all the commandments. Everything goes under that. So just follow that. Just love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength, and you will be able to do all the other commandments without even really thinking about it. It should come naturally. Isn't that crazy how that works? Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
This is the part of the show that you've been waiting for. It's a biblical joke of the week. That's a weird voice. Okay, let's just move on here.
Okay guys, here's the biblical joke of the week. I found it online, so please send me your joke. Here's how it goes. Two bishops were discussing the decline in morals in the modern world. I didn't sleep with my wife before I was married, said one clergyman self-righteously. Did you? I don't know, said the other. What was her maiden name?
I need you to submit your biblical joke so that I can have it on the show. Now, how to do that? Well, you can either go to wizive.com and contact me, or you can go to YouTube and create a video response.
This video right here, I don't know where the top is, where the bottom is, but somewhere around here is called the Wizive Show. It's an episode of the Wizive Show. And the reason for it is because I want to glorify God. I want to help you move closer to God, to grow your love in God, to be completely committed to in love with God. That's what I want. I want to help you get there, and I want to get there myself. So let's do it together. My name is always Justin Miller, and I'm out. Coming for to carry me home. Sweet chariot coming for to carry me home.